Hi, everybody, and welcome to Sports Talk. I'm Gordy Deal, and our special guest today is one of the legends at East Brunswick High School, Phil Hossler, the trainer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Gordy.
I know, first of all, we have a very important thing to discuss with you. Recent award, National Athletic Trainer Hall of Fame, only the 7th person ever from New Jersey. Talk about that. Congratulations, first
Thank
of all.
you. Yes, the National Athletic Trainers Hall of Fame, our national headquarters is in Dallas, and there's a picture plaque and a description that hangs in the Hall of Fame. And there were 9 people inducted into this year's Hall of Fame, which makes a total of only 204 in the 50 years of the association. So it's quite an honor. In our profession, my profession, that's our version of Cooperstown. That's as large an award as an athletic trainer can receive. And there are only ever 7 from the state of New Jersey. And currently there's only 2 of us that are still young enough to be working, myself and Ronnie Barnes, the head trainer for the Giants.
How many of those guys may have been your colleagues? Any of the 7 from New Jersey that you worked with before?
Oh, absolutely. The one who worked most recently just retired from Princeton. That was Dick Malacray, Princeton University. I've known Dick for years, and the other one was one of the first people that I knew when I came to Jersey 25 years ago, the longtime athletic trainer at Sayreville, Vito Racine. A lot of the coaches in the area would know Vito. Vito was around a long time before I even arrived.
When you start out as an athletic trainer, you don't ever aspire, I wouldn't imagine, to one day be in the Athletic Trainer Hall of Fame. Your role, I guess, is much more in front of you in terms of taking care of students or the athletes that have concerns or injuries or banged up. What is it that you think got you there? Well,
you know, like anybody else, I can't believe I've been in the profession 25 years. It seems more like 25 days. It just flew by. But I mean, when my younger colleagues ask me these kind of questions, I tell them, you know, you really have to go through your professional life sort of like a baseball game. You can't wait for someone to put you in the lineup. You put yourself in the lineup as many times as you can, and occasionally you strike out, but every time you do a professional activity, it's like a base hit. So if you're up to the plate often enough and you get enough base hits, every once in a while a double, people begin to recognize you as a hitter, so then your reputation grows. I mean, you don't have to hit a home run every time you're up to bat, but if you're up to bat often enough, people begin to recognize that you're out there.
Why did you ever decide that being an athletic trainer was what you wanted to do?
You know, it's funny. My sophomore year in college, when I was at Westchester, I went as a health and physical education major, which I am certified to teach, but my sophomore year, every health and physical education instructor takes a course called Care and Prevention of Athletic Injuries. And that's where you learn how to tape the various joints of the body. And this is a true story, and I've repeated it a couple times to friends. My first ankle taping job, I mean, I was a football player. I played 4 years at Westchester, and my football buddies were beside me, and they were taping, and you know, they were tearing it and cutting it with their teeth, and it was all wrinkled. And without exaggeration, Gordy, my first one went on perfect. And if you're a fatalist, if you believe in omens, and it hit me, it struck me, and that's when I started athletic training, right then.
Interesting. All right, 15 years now at East Brunswick High School. I see you every time I'm there broadcasting a game of some kind. This is not, you can't sign up and do this 9 to 5. This, obviously, there are road trips that you take. There are late hours involved. There are overtime games that you don't want to see go overtime. You miss dinner a lot. You know, explain the, kind of the life and times of an athletic trainer.
Well, it really, it's such a time commitment, as is any coaching. I mean, you can go to work all day, like in your case, for example, you might go to work and then go coach your son's Little League team. So you're getting home 8 o'clock at night. I mean, my normal job goes from 10 in the morning until 6:37. That's normal. Winter basketball, wrestling goes from 10 till 10 sometimes. And that's just normal. That's just part of the job because, I mean, East Brunswick has a huge athletic program. And it just goes with the territory. And I mean, what I'd like to see happen is, since we've added so many sports in the 15 years that I've been there, we've added 7 teams in 15 years. That's about 1 every other year. I'd like to see us grow to the point where we begin to follow. There are about 5 high schools in the state now that actually have an assistant athletic trainer in the high school. And that would certainly make the job, more doable. I mean, I'm very fortunate. I have a nice group of student athletic assistants. I mean, I have a lot of nice kids that extend my eyes and ears for me all the time. But you're right. It's my wife, I met my wife when we were in high school. So we've been together a long time, and this is all she's ever known. So it's nice. She never really understood everything I've done, but she never stood in the way. And my 2 sons, I mean, I went to work one day, I came home, and they were teenagers. I don't know when it happened, but it happened that quick. So, yeah, you really give up a lot. You have to have an understanding support group around you, or it's just not going to work. You
alluded to it a little bit, but I want to get into a little bit later on in terms of some of the people that you've taught and what they're doing now. But let's talk a little bit more about the resume, because we have the National Hall of Fame induction. What else is on the resume?
Well, last year we started an Athletic Trainers Hall of Fame in the state of New Jersey. And myself and 3 other people were the inaugural inductees. So that's nice. That's a home run. Mm-hmm. The National Hall of Fame, that's a Grand Slam home run, if you're up to bat. I mean, I've been very fortunate. Athletic training's been very good to me. It's allowed me to travel to Europe 3 times with Olympic teams, to South America, to the Pan American Games. It's allowed me, I've written 2 textbooks and 20+ articles. I mean, I've enjoyed it. It's been a lot of activity, and those are all those base hits and doubles, and you just keep on playing the game.
You recently stepped down as president of the State Athletic Trainers Society, the only one to be president twice. So you know how to work a room, apparently, and get the respect of your colleagues. What is that? What was that office like? What did you do?
Well, we in New Jersey, we have a great organization because the geography is conducive to actually getting together and meeting. But as president, we did a couple legislative things which were very important. I was president back in the mid-'80s when we had our Athletic Training Practice Act signed by the governor. That put some regulations into the field of athletic training in the state of New Jersey, such that well-meaning coaches couldn't turn on whirlpools anymore. I mean, it was for the kids' benefit that someone with credentials had to do these things. So that was the first term as president. This second term as president, we worked very hard. Something I had started about 12 years ago working with the Department of Education, and the governor signed it on May 3rd. We now have a certificate from the Department of Education recognizing the educational value that athletic trainers have and the impact that we have on kids' lives in the high school. So it's sort of it's been termed a landmark decision because of the weight that it carries. So we're very pleased. That's 2 major legislative things that I've enjoyed being a part of.
And I know for the minimal amount of time you have, free time that is, you make the most of it. Talk about the clothing drive.
Yeah, it's like anything else. When you look around and you see, gee, it seems like somebody ought to do something with that. I mean, well, in the high school setting, East Brunswick and every other high school across the country, there's a certain amount of lost and found that comes up. So it began to bother me that it just was being thrown in the dumpster. So I started throwing it into bags and then calling people like Feed the Children, Easter Seals, or Goodwill Industries, and said, hey guys, I've got 40 bags of used, discarded clothing here. Do you want it? Well, that grew after about 2 or 3 years to the point where last year what I did was I contacted the USA Today has a national thing they do called Make a Difference Day. People register projects, and they register them with the USA Today people, and then you go through and fill out the paperwork and stuff. And we had a very nice response. We had a tremendous response from the East Brunswick community and public school buildings. We collected clothing, and we ended up collecting, just in the East Brunswick community and school community, over 20,000 pieces of clothing that we gave to Goodwill Industries. I mean, it overfilled the truck. They had to come back the second time. So that's nothing more than just a little organizational skill and time, and the people just responded wonderfully.
So in 15 years, there are obviously a lot of stories to tell from an athletic trainer standpoint. You must think back to that one particular year where it seemed like you were taping somebody, trying to heal an injury, turning on the whirlpool. Is there a worst year that comes to mind right off the bat in terms of injuries, most injuries in a season?
Well, the most injuries occur typically for every high school setting in the fall, just by the nature of the activities. Winter typically is the longest, and spring typically is a combination of the two. Sometimes long evenings, sometimes frequently injured, but as a rule, mild by comparison. Injury-wise, perhaps the worst injury I've ever seen, I experienced my first year at East Brunswick, and that's when one of our gymnasts was doing giant swings on the high bar, and his grips grabbed and didn't move. So instead of his wrist bending, his forearm bent, and the bone was sticking out of his arm about 5 inches, and he was stuck up on the bar. We had to lift him down to even take care of him.
Wow.
But you know, typically you have a number of knee surgeries every year, and I mean, East Brunswick is very good that way. Our coaches do a great job of conditioning, and we probably have fewer than a lot of high schools. I mean, I don't like to see any of my kids get surgery, of course, but whenever they do, I almost always go in the operating room with them. I've been in the operating room probably 30 or 40 times with the kids when they have surgery. They sort of like to see a friendly face before they drift off.
You've seen a wave, obviously, of kids come through. In your mind, has the athlete changed, and are the injuries different than they were, say, when you first started?
I think the athletes that we see, I mean, I like working with an athletic population because they're already driven, committed, goal-orientated, patient. They know the championship isn't going to happen this week. It's not for another 2 months. Mm-hmm. So in that respect, the personalities are much easier and more enjoyable to work with. But there's a lot more pressure on the athletes today. It seems there's a lot more gold out there to be won, more awards, more recognitions. But typically, I think the athletes, are just as hardworking as they've ever been.
Because I guess some people have said athletes are bigger, they're stronger than they used to be. I didn't know if that somehow translated into different types of injuries, things along those lines.
No, I think as the kids get bigger, the rules change a little bit to keep up with it. Perfect example would be the spearing rule in football. Mm-hmm. Because when your middle linebacker used to weigh 190 because he was the biggest kid on the team, right. He now weighs 265, and he's the middle linebacker. So there had to be rule adjustments, just like there are rule adjustments in baseball. So I think the rules are still meant to keep even the bigger kids safe.
What percentage, ever place a percentage on the injuries that you see that are preventable? If say, more homework or better care had been done?
I would say probably only about a quarter. Like a pulled muscle. Pulled muscles are very preventable. One of my biggest soapboxes or complaints with kids is that they get in shape the first day of the season rather than get it in shape for the first day of the season. Hamstring pulls and all those sort of things. I mean, you start stretching 3 weeks before the season even starts. Those are the ones that are annoying, if you can use that word, to an athletic trainer, because they're preventable. I mean, if someone runs into you and you slip and fall, that may not even been preventable.
Take me through a typical busy day for you.
During the fall, for example, my first lunch period starts about 10:15, and I do the physical therapy on the athletes that come down, and that runs for about almost 4 hours, and then 40 minutes before the end of school, and then we get ready, and we have, anybody who knows East Brunswick knows that if you go up to our school grounds after school, you'll see a football team, you'll see 4 soccer teams, a field hockey team, boys and girls cross country team, tennis team, girls volleyball indoors. So on any given afternoon, I'm probably directly or indirectly responsible for the care of almost 300 kids.
What kind of coordination does that take?
Well, I'm very fortunate in a lot of regards. I've had 2 very good bosses since I've been in East Brunswick. Charlie King, who hired me, and Frank Knoppenberger, who's the current supervisor of athletics. They're both good bosses and they're both good friends, and they've allowed me to extend, for example, something as simple as a walkie-talkie I have, low budget walkie-talkies, but I put one in each of the team's first aid kits. And I have a nice student trainer crew, and my kids go out and they each have a walkie-talkie. So I learned early on in my career I can't be everywhere. So I could be at a soccer field and someone runs in the training room to get me and the sign says soccer field, but I left there 10 minutes ago to go to the football field. So instead of people chasing me all over the place, it's so much easier. The walkie-talkies coordinate everything. My coaches are real good about it. My student trainers are real good about it. So it's sort of like, it's a small university setting. I mean, it takes a lot of coordination and administration to pull it off successfully.
Talk about some of your student trainers, because I know you've had a bunch come through and you're proud of what they've done.
I've had, this is 15 years, probably 60 student trainers come and go. A couple of them are physical therapists now, a couple of them are nurses. 3 have actually become certified athletic trainers in high schools in the state of New Jersey. So, I mean, that's the largest compliment that a kid can pay you. They see what you did. Now, they're an adolescent. They like what you did. They said, I'll try it in college, and then they actually went out and made it their life. I mean, that's a huge compliment. So I have 3 of those. The 4th one passed his exam. 5th is about to take her exam. So it's a good hands-on, it's a good learning, it's a good job skill kind of thing. The student trainer program, I'm real pleased with the way it's been going. And right now I have 4 juniors, who will be seniors next year, of course, 4 juniors, 3 sophomores, and 2 freshmen. So I have 9 student trainers right now.
And did you explain to me before we started that actually New Jersey has the highest concentration of athletic trainers of any state?
Yeah, New Jersey is very densely populated. 74% of our high schools have the services in one shape or form of an athletic trainer. The way that we do it here in East Brunswick, I think, is the most ideal, and that's a full-time. I don't teach anymore. My job is to take care of the athletic population. And 41% of our athletic trainers are full-timers in the state of New Jersey. So having 74% of our high schools covered is about 2.5 times the national average. So we're doing a good job here in Jersey.
So on a national level, do we not have enough? Would you say that there needs to be more?
Well,
does every school need at least one, more than one?
Yeah, I think we're getting to the point, Gordy, there were some recent articles that a football team, for example, not meaning to pick on football, but a football usually has the largest coaching staff. So you have 7 coaches for 65 kids, 1 athletic trainer for 300. So it doesn't take a great mind game to figure out that if you're going to field these teams, you should see that they're cared for. And that's slowly coming around. The problem is, of course, that it's obvious you can run an athletic program without an athletic trainer. Not wisely, not safely. But you can't have a football game if the coaches don't show up. So too many schools figure they can get by. But here in New Jersey, it's becoming the standard of care. It's almost to the point where if our team goes to a high school that doesn't have an athletic trainer, it's unusual, and you're sort of endangering my kids now by not being there to take care of them. So as the standard of care rises, more and more schools are saying, we could be negligent if we don't keep up with the standard of care.
Based on that theme, kind of legal concerns do you have? Say you go out to tend to a football player who maybe has taken a knock in the head, but you're not sure because you're just getting out there now looking at him lying on the ground. You get out there, are you subject to legal action if something goes wrong while you're standing there?
Oh, sure. I mean, in today's world, you know, anybody can sue you anytime for anything. I mean, I myself and some other athletic trainers in the state, I've purchased my own professional liability policy, which covers me for things like if you were to ask me a question about your knee surgery and I gave you an answer, then you slipped on the ice and said, well, gee, Phil, that was a silly answer, I'm going to sue you. Mm-hmm. Well, that's not covered by my job. Now, anybody who comes to East Brunswick to play our kids in sports are covered by the Board of Education policy, as am I. But sure, every question that I'm asked and every act that I do is potentially litigious, yes.
That has to be explained, I guess, to your student trainers as well.
Yeah, my students are reminded constantly that they have no legal grounds at all. They're only there to do first aid and tape in the manner in which I taught them. and that if the coach says, well, do you think they can return to the game, the answer is, it's up to you, coach. My kids don't make those decisions. They can't. The coach is their boss. I'm their boss. The athlete's parents are their boss. The supervisor of athletics is their boss. Everybody's their boss. They can't make decisions. They know it.
Is there an overriding issue that you as an athletic trainer are dealing with, say not only in this school district, but maybe on a national level? Whether it not be enough recognition, maybe not enough training in some states, support, anything like that? Is there an issue that kind of is prevalent every time, you know, athletic trainers get together?
I think the main issue is sort of where do we go from here? For example, if you had knee surgery and you said, well, I'm going to stop by the high school and ask Phil something. Well, by law in New Jersey, my license extends to the athletic population of East Brunswick. Okay, that's what I'm trained for. Now, your knee surgery may be very similar to my 17-year-old fullback's knee surgery, but you're not 17. So the National Athletic Trainers Association is hoping to extend the boundaries by which we can answer those knee surgery questions, for example. And that's a ripe area for controversy. There are other healthcare providers out in the world who say, well, that's what we do. You can't do that. Mm-hmm. So that's probably the largest controversy, is where do we go from here?
Whatever brought you to East Brunswick 15 years ago?
Well, I've been in Middlesex County now 25. I used to work in Old Bridge, but I was a teacher trainer there. And I taught 5 health classes, and got into school, you know, before first period, and then stayed till basketball 9 o'clock at night. So those got to be 14-hour days. Well, after a couple years of those, I used to sit at basketball games 9:30 at night and correct 150 health tests. And I said, you know what, guys, something has to change. And they said, well, we can't change it. That's just the way it is. And then this full-time job opened, and it was an easy application for me to file.
Did you ever wonder what you would be doing, or maybe no, if you were not an athletic trainer or involved in education somehow?
Yeah, you know, I really don't know, because, I mean, people say, well, gee, Phil, you've been doing it for 25 years. Did you ever think about getting out of it? And I said, well, I mean, I enjoy what I do right now. I don't figure I'm retiring for another 20.
We talked before about most injuries in a season. Can you recall one particular athlete, male or female, who was in your office every day, maybe played sports all the time, but always had that one injury, whether it was legitimate or not, that always needed tape? Whether it be a thumb or an ankle, the knee?
Yeah, you know what is there? There's a thin line between a malingerer and someone who is just an awfully nice person and just loves the socialization that goes on, because you have pressure in your classroom setting. Okay, it's perform, it's study, pass the test. You have pressure in your athletic setting. You know, you got to get your assignment done, you got to be here, you got to block here, kick here, throw here. So win, loss, newspaper, coaches yelling. So the athletic training room becomes the oasis. Mm-hmm. And that's a tough job, because sometimes, you know, you don't want to throw kids out and discourage them, because it's very important. One of the biggest things that makes an athletic trainer work is trust.
Right. The
kids have to trust me, know that I only care about their best interest, and that they can tell me something they wouldn't tell the coach. You know, so there has to be that kind of attitude that goes on. So sometimes you let kids hang out because you know they need that oasis.
There's got to be some great gossip, though. I mean, you have to be the first to know a lot of things. Well, prom dates, yeah. Who's dating who. I mean, I know that originates in the trainer's office.
Oh, yeah. You pretend like you're not listening, but you hear every conversation that's going on. You know, you get 9 or 10 student trainers with 2 or 3 athletes in the room. There's a lot going on. You can hear it all.
What are some of the basics that you explain to parents, that maybe you explain to freshmen on day one, about what you do and what they ought to be doing, and maybe what parents ought to be doing when it comes to their student athlete? Last year,
I generated a piece of paper that I send home to every sport, to every athlete. And it says practice safe sports / volleyball, practice safe sports / lacrosse. And basically it walks them through the same fundamentals. That is, stretch early, eat breakfast. I mean, I don't care what it is, but eat something. You can't go on low blood sugar and try and perform. And use ice, never heat. So if you're not sure what to do, you put ice on it for 20 or 30 minutes and then leave it off for an hour. 3 hours is not 4 times as good. I had a father do that one time. He left it on for 3 hours because he thought it was going to be better. But, you know, stretch often, ice what hurts, eat sensibly, report injuries. I mean, I walk all of them through this before every season. So that by the time they're seniors, they can almost do my talk for me. And that's the way it should be.
Yeah.
I like when my athletes walk out knowing everything I was about to say.
All right. Well, it's been a great show. Thanks for being on.
My pleasure.
Phil Hossler, trainer at East Brunswick High School, will be inducted into the National Athletic Trainers Hall of Fame. Only the 7th person from New Jersey ever to be there, and that is in Dallas, correct? Headquarters in Dallas, so we need to fly to Dallas to see Phil's picture on the plaque and all that. But thanks for coming, and congratulations once again.
Thank you.
That's Sports Talk. I'm Gordy Deal for Phil Hill. We'll see you next time.